via the gut as bilirubin or its oxygenation byproduct biliverdin, or after being acted on by bacteria in the gut, reabsorbed into the blood, excreted via the kidney as urobilinogen. So as we've said, bilirubin is the yellow pigment left after breakdown of haemoglobin. And there's another circumstance you might have seen this actually. After a bruise, when there's been blood cells in the tissues of the body, after a few days those blood cells are broken down, and you may have seen yellow staining round about the edge of a bruise, or when a bruise is resolving. That's actually the bilirubin in the tissues. But normally after hemolysis, when the blood cells have been broken down, liver cells take up the bilirubin and to some extent the biliverdin, the oxygenation byproduct of the bilirubin, and they incorporate it into the bile, where we can call it bile pigments. This is stored in the gallbladder. When required by digestive processes, goes into the duodenum, and there it emulsifies fats, deodorizes and colours feces, and is eliminated from the body via the feces. Alternatively, after bacterial action on the bilirubin in the gut, some is reabsorbed from the gut as urobilinogen, which is then taken up by the kidneys and excreted in the urine as urobilinogen. So we've reviewed the normal physiology. Now in jaundice, basically there's three ways that we can classify jaundice. We can either describe it as a prehepatic jaundice, a hepatic jaundice, or a post-hepatic jaundice. And we can use this same diagram to explain what we mean by this. Now in a prehepatic jaundice, the pathology, the abnormality is before the bilirubin gets to the liver. In hepatic jaundice, there's something wrong in the liver itself. And in post-hepatic jaundice, the pathology lies after the bile or after the bilirubin has left the liver. So the first possible cause is prehepatic jaundice. Now in prehepatic jaundice, there's an increase in hemolysis for some reason or another. So if there's more hemolysis going on than normal, there's more red blood cells broken down than normal, that means that more bilirubin than normal is going to be released into the blood. If there's an increase in the amount of bilirubin in the blood, then that can give rise to jaundice. But this is before the bilirubin physiology has got to the liver, so it's a prehepatic jaundice. And because it's caused by increased breakdown of red blood cells, it's sometimes referred to as a hemolytic jaundice. So a hemolytic jaundice or a prehepatic jaundice really is the same thing. So jaundice may be prehepatic. Going on to the liver, jaundice may also be hepatic. Now in hepatic jaundice, there's some pathology in the liver, which means that the liver is not working properly. That means that the liver is unable to take up the bilirubin, so the bilirubin remains in the blood. So in hepatic jaundice, there'll just be a normal amount of red blood cells being broken down, but the liver is unable for some reason either to take up the bilirubin from the liver and put it into the bile pigments, into the bile product, or alternatively there may be some blockage in the liver that's stopping the bile getting out, also causing an accumulation of the bilirubin in the bloodstream. Now if that's the case, that's referred to as hepatic jaundice. So prehepatic jaundice, is going to affect this stage of the physiology abnormally. Hepatic jaundice, there's something wrong in this stage of the physiology. Something wrong in the liver itself. So jaundice may be prehepatic, jaundice may be hepatic, and thirdly, jaundice may be posthepatic. Now in posthepatic jaundice, there's some abnormality in the biliary excretory ducts. Sometimes it's a blockage from inside the duct, or alternatively it may be a blockage from outside the duct. But either way, what it means is that after the bile has left the liver, there's a blockage preventing the bile from escaping normally into the gut. This means that bile dams back up into the hepatic ducts, dams back up into the liver, and when the liver's, as it were, filled up with bile, the bile flows back, overflows back from the liver into the blood, again causing an increase in the amount of the bilirubin in the blood, therefore causing jaundice. So jaundice may be prehepatic, hepatic, or jaundice may be posthepatic, affecting this area of bile physiology. Let's now clarify the types of jaundice using a simple word diagram. So jaundice. Jaundice, as we've said, yellow discoloration of the skin, sclera, due to the accumulation of bilirubin in the blood. But there may be three types. The first we've said is prehepatic. Second type is hepatic. And the third type, posthepatic. So the jaundice may be prehepatic, hepatic, or posthepatic. Now the hepatic jaundice may be caused by, as we've said, by hemolysis. Some hemolytic condition, some disease causing increased breakdown of red blood cells for whatever reason. Now the only other common, well not common, but the only other cause at all of prehepatic jaundice that I'm aware of is that you get some genetic conditions where there's an abnormality of bilirubin. These are referred to as hyperbilirubinemias. Genetic hyperbilirubinemia. So hyper meaning high, bilirubin, emia means in the blood. So there's increased amount of bilirubin in the blood for genetic reasons. This is fairly rare. I've never actually seen this condition. So normally that the prehepatic type is caused by increased hemolysis for whatever reason. Now in hepatic jaundice, again we could divide this into two types really. The first is where there's a failure of the liver cells themselves, that the liver cells don't work properly. This is referred to as hepatocellular, because remember a hepatocyte is a liver cell. Hepatocellular. And the hepatocellular type is due to liver cell failure. So this is where the individual liver cells are no longer functioning, therefore no longer able to take the bilirubin out of the blood and put it into the bile, therefore the bilirubin accumulates in the blood. But there is another possibility that the liver cells are actually functioning normally.